that?
Yes. Well, perhaps later, Richard, perhaps later we can revisit this and discuss about if, the notion of if there is no good or bad or right or wrong in the manifestation of the reality in this world, how would then the actions that are considered to be wrong under the modern society, under the modern norm, such as murder, killing and war things, basically then be led, to exist. If those are all manifestation of the one, but perhaps we can come back to that later. Richard, I'm going to give the space to you now to follow up.
Yes, actually, your question is very good, but I'm eager to hear what is Gunnar answer about the evil and good and evil. But what is interesting, what Gunnar say, when we talk about bear the witness, the name of Allah, this must be until our cellular level. This is what you say before. Very interesting. So, and then you explain the how human exists, start from the conception, and you have the single cell, right? And you also mentioned that existence is only one, singular existence, meaning everyone that we see, we feel, actually is the another configuration or multiple billion configuration of the single existence. Is, if I may follow your way of thinking. So if it is like that, you can explain very well about the conception from the sperm, egg cell, and then our parents, the DNA, and so on. And then become brain, right? And from the brain, you have the information, a data package. So my question, how the spirit form is in the same way also through this wave and come to the brain, or from outside? Maybe you can explain this about the spirit, because we are flesh, right? We know the process. But how about the ruach, the spirit? Thank you, Gunnar.
Thank you, Richard. That's a curveball. What we, well, as far as the question goes, thank you for that. First, let me try and address Marie's question. We have our existence is dependent on our survival. So if we see a man running at us with a knife, the idea is not to say this is the will of Allah, so let me sit here. You have to manifest your powers of protecting yourself and doing what is necessary at that moment. When we know somebody is a murderer, or somebody can be harmful to society, it is incumbent on us to remove them from society for everybody to be able to flourish in the best way possible. The actions that we put forth are very different from our judgments. So there are two things. There's an action that is required, but where we fall is when we say, why is he like this? Why is he a murderer? Why is he not a kind person? We spoke about metaphors, and I'll come upon a subject that's always very tricky to understand. There's always the topic of fate, as explained in religion. So fate, the way it's described in religion is that, the words are written and the ink on the pen has dried. Everything has been written. Well, the same way that, like this is described, we have our data that creates what we are able to do. Our internal data actually decides whether we are able to accept a new piece of information and we are able to bring that into our lives and change thanks to it or not. And in the same way, the data of the Earth, the data of the moon, the data of the sun, of Jupiter, of everything in the universe actually defines its path and how those paths interact with each other. So yes, everything is predefined. We are witnessing things as they occur. And if everything is predefined, what we refer to as something bad, a man rushing at you with a knife, that is a part of that manifestation. And it is going to lead to something different, and which will also lead to something different. And that is what we will watch unfold. But the pain that creates our suffering is not understanding that everybody lives out their creational purpose. Every piece of existence in the universe is living out its creational purpose. The world will have earthquakes because it is programmed into the world. There will be volcanoes, there will be tsunamis, there will be storms, there will be forest fires. And when we say this is good or this is bad, that's fine, but we are missing the functioning of the universe. The human brain is it can be viewed almost like a receiver, like a television. So there's I guess different ways of trying to understand existence, and actually the more ways we are able to approach the topic, the stronger our understanding and our faith actually becomes, right? So we can look at existence through the brain. We can look at existence through what we call the material existence, through Newtonian science. We can look at existence through what we refer to as a quantum reality, right? And then we can also look at existence as described in religion. Now, if there's a conflict somewhere, it means that either there's a misunderstanding or something in that information is not correct. Now, our brain captivates the data that is coming from all existence as matter. So the way that we are like a TV transistor is that information comes at us. So there is information coming from here to you. That is why you receive the same information. But the information that is coming from here may not be in the exact same format as we are witnessing it. So what happens if we consider, for example, the act of sight? There's light that shines on an object. It comes to our eyes. What happens from there? There's signals, electronic signals, that go through our brain to our cerebellum. And that is where vision occurs. Now, is there any light in the cerebellum? It's a dark piece of flesh. The act of the vision occurring is actually the brain creating an illusion of what it sees. There's a disconnect between the light coming from the object and the brain creating its illusion. What happens with touch, with smell, with hearing? It is all the same. Now, quantum physics basically tells us that the base of all matter is actually wave. So if we take the observer away from what we call matter, the the reality of what is known to be material is wave-based. So there is data, but my brain is converting that data into what we call matter. If that is the case, how does this refer to the soul? Because the way we understand the soul is we say the brain waves that we have create a data wave that is the soul, and that this soul exists beyond
The matter.
the matter. But is there a difference between the brain waves, which are actually also wave-based, and what we refer to as the soul that it creates? Or is it all one and the same? So the way we perceive things is that we are a body, matter, and that this matter creates a separate existence that is the soul. But what actually science is telling us, what the Quran is telling us, what all knowledge is telling us is that there is only one existence. And that existence is non-material. So what we refer to as the soul is actually the singular soul. And not the separate soul. In Islam, this is referred to as Hu, the singular consciousness that reverberates through existence.
And who is infinite?
There's a verse in the Quran. It's one of the last verses in the Quran, and it is called it's the Surah Ikhlas, and it says, "Who is Ahad?" It is singular. Who is Samed? It is pure. There's nothing external that comes into it. There's nothing external that goes out of it. This surah, I think, is the key to understanding existence, what we are, who we are, and what is referred to by the name Allah.